Pine pieces are probably one of my favourite pieces to paint because you can come across them quite easily. They're usually quite solid and they just paint up really well. So with this piece, I'm not just going to put paint on it and just do a one colour finish. I'm going to create a faux finish on this, and I want to create a kind of aged farmhouse effect. But first I had to get rid of that flaky orange varnish that had to come off, so I sanded it all away and left the bare pine. And then I'm going to create a wash of paint. All a wash of paint is when you water down some paint and it gives a more watery finish, and that's just going to make it soak into the raw wood and give the impression that the pine isn't quite as modern as what it actually is. Then I did a wash of black just to deepen it further, because as the brown dried, it dried quite light, so the black is just going to deepen it. And what I also did is just wipe some of the areas back that I'd put the black on, so that you can see the brown coming through, and that is quite a cool effect on its own. But I'm going to add some colour to this, and the first colour that I'm actually going to use is white, which isn't a colour I use very often, but this is only going to go down as a base colour. You're only going to see tiny little bits of this, and as you can see, I'm stippling it on with a brush, and that's going to give me lots of texture. And then the next colour that I used is a blue, and again I just stippled that on just in areas. I didn't want full coverage of this. Again, you're not going to really see a lot of the blue, you're only going to see it peeking through when I distress this piece later on. Initially I wanted this piece to be a sort of pastel farmhousey blue colour, which I mixed using blue and white to make a pastel blue, but I couldn't resist adding a bit of green to it because I'm a green gal at heart. I love painting in green. I love all shades of green, and this one's no exception. So it's quite a nice kind of farmhousey pastel-y green, and I'm going to apply that colour straight over the top of the other two colours, and it almost looks like I'm covering them completely, which I pretty much am. I'm going to leave it thinner in areas and build it up thicker in others, but I am going to pretty much cover the other two colours. But then when that's dry, what I'm going to do is get a scraper, and I'm going to scrape areas back to distress it, and I'm also going to use a little bit of sandpaper, and that's just going to reveal those other colours underneath. And if it does go down to the wood, the wash of paint that I applied at the start is obviously going to reveal a deeper brown than that kind of pale pine colour, so it hopefully gives the impression that this piece is much older than it already is. I sealed it using Terra Tuff. I also added some brown wax, again just for a little bit of age and depth, and then I rubbed the excess off and buffed it all up. As always, there's a couple of close-ups of the finished look here, so you can see all the texture and the layers of colours that I built up. A little reminder of what the piece looked like before, and here's the after.